Hello and welcome to RT Ministries. My name is Dwayne, and this is the Bible study portion of RT Ministries. I think we're going to start a series on the sovereignty of God. You know, I look outside and the world's changing quick, and we seem to be heading closer and closer and closer to revelation. You know, the governments of the world are coming together. People are changing out there. The whole world is changing. There's food crises all over the world, and I don't say the tribulation has started, but we are certainly getting ready for it. The sovereignty of God is important. I think if you understand the sovereignty of God as the Bible says the sovereignty of God, I think it'll change your whole life, your whole perspective in life, and it'll make you walk certainly closer to God. It'll make you walk in more confidence with God. I've been saved now 25 years, and I've listened to people, and I hear people talking about God, obviously, in church settings and outside of church. And most people would agree with me that God is sovereign. And if I asked you out there if God was sovereign, you would say, yeah, he's in control of everything. But most people do not live like he's in control of everything. First sign of bad problems, they go to pieces, right? Or they blame the devil, or Lord knows what else they blame, or they say God, allowed this and allowed that. And we'll get more into that, but we're going to start with the basic sovereignty of God. The word sovereign means control of all things, right? I mean, if God is in control of all things, and I've explained this to people, I've talked to people, and the first thing I hear out of people's mouth, well, if God is in control of all things, why is there evil? Why does evil exist? And why? Well, the answer to that question is the evil exists because man sins. It isn't God that sinned. We sinned and brought evil into the world. Now, God is not the author of evil. Okay? Everybody understand this about God's sovereignty. God is not the author of evil. Okay? We are the ones who brought evil in. We are the ones who do evil. But listen, this is the sovereignty of God now. God uses evil according to his will. That makes sense? There's a big difference. He's not the author of it. But God's in charge of everything, and God uses evil and uses it, listen to me, uses it according to his will. And listen, there's going to be a lot of things that happen in life that you just plain won't understand, right? First question people ask, why is God doing this? And the true answer to that question is, like Job, all the bad things that happened to Job, he never accused God of being wrong. And basically, did God ever answer Job? God never answered Job on why he did what he did. The answer to Job was, who are you to talk to me like that? Who are you to even ask? And that's the answer to our questions. Listen, whenever you question God, your answer is, who are you to question your Creator and what he does and why he does it? Most people in this world are not real humble. They want answers for everything. And I'm going to tell you, as a Christian, if you're a Christian, you won't get answers to everything. God doesn't have to tell you why he's doing something. He didn't have to tell Job. Didn't have to tell Moses. He didn't tell anybody why he's doing something. Some things you just won't understand. All right, God's sovereignty. I want people to this is most people's idea of God's sovereignty. He spins the world, and then he kind of sits back to see, like this, and see what's going on, see what's happening, and he allows this and that and this and that. That's not the biblical picture of God's sovereignty. God moves the world according to his will, right? And he wills and moves everything in the world according to his will. Again, he uses evil. He doesn't produce it. He uses it according to his will. Everybody and everything is under his control. He feeds the animals. He feeds people. Every little thing in this world is run by God, the sovereign God of this universe. The term even God. The word God means almighty. There's nobody greater than God. There can't be more than one God. There is no Allah. There is no Buddha. All this other stuff. There's only one God. Jehovah. Jesus Christ is his name. It's all the same. So God moves this world according to his will. His will is being done with every person in this world. And we'll fight. I just took 3 verses. Every week I'm going to take at least 3 verses from the Bible to help you understand the sovereignty of God. If persecution's ramping up out there, you need to understand God's in control. And again, it's easy to say God's in control when life is going well, okay? But you got to understand the sovereignty of God when things are going very bad. And the world's going to the world's getting darker and darker and darker. All countries are getting darker and darker and darker. So you're going to have to understand the sovereignty of God really well. And I decided to start in Psalm 115:3. This is my favorite psalm. I've memorized this for a while. This is how I live my life. Psalm 115:3. It says, "Our God is in heaven. He does whatever he pleases." And why do you need to know this with the sovereignty of God? You got to understand where your God is. He's in heaven, right? Our God is in heaven, and he does whatever he pleases. The first thing you got to understand about God and the sovereignty and everything going on, God doesn't have to answer to anybody. He doesn't have to ask permission to do anything. He does what he pleases. And that means according to your life. All of us Christians have been bought with a price, right? According to the Bible, we've been bought with a price. We're not our own. He can do whatever he wants with you according to his will. Now, sometimes you won't understand that. Things can be going very bad. But everything going very bad is, we take the good from God, right? When everything's going good, we're praising God and we're doing what. When things go bad, we think, what happened? The devil's doing this to me. No, God's doing. Job said the Lord does both good and evil, right? God does both. God not only brought the good into your life, he's bringing the bad. Like people who, for instance, like somebody comes down with cancer. Okay, just say I come down with cancer. Our first thing is to go to church and have everybody pray for me to be healed. But if God's sovereign, who brought that into my life? God did. Of course God did. If God's sovereign, he brought that into my life because he could have easily not brought it in. But he brought it in for a reason. We as Christians are too quick to go to church and pray for things to be removed when you're praying to the same God who brought it in. If God's sovereign, which he is, he's in heaven, he does what he pleases. That means he does according to his will, not yours. The same God that you're praying to take away cancer is the same God who brought it in for a reason. I'm not saying you shouldn't pray. I'm not saying, again, understand me, I'm not saying you shouldn't pray to have God remove something. If God leads you, do it. But listen, understand something. If you get cancer, the first thing that you should go through your mind are God's in heaven. He does what he pleases. My God is in control. Not only in control, he's willing everything that's happening to me in this world according to his will. Lord, I know you could have stopped this, but you didn't. You willed it into my life. I'm going to glorify you through it. Maybe God's will is for you to get cancer and glorify him till the end, till you die. What if that's his will for you? Listen, if God don't want you to die, you won't die. If he's sovereign, he's in control. If you're not willed to die, you won't die. So listen, you got to understand about the sovereignty of God, that he does what he pleases. God's will has been going forth since Adam and Eve and since the creation. God's will has moved forward and is still moving forward. Everything is done according to his will. And here, the second one I tied to was Proverbs 19:21, because it says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that prevails. And you got to understand the second part of God. Man comes up with a plan. And I've heard other translations here. It says, men come up with plans, right, in their mind or in their heart, but God moves their feet. That's all it's saying. No matter what man comes up with, God's purpose is done. God's will is done. God moves your feet. You can come up with your own plans, but God will move your feet. So who's in real control, right? God sits in heaven. He does what he pleases. Man comes up with his plan as God sits in heaven and he does what he pleases. Man comes up with his plans, moves according to man's plans, but God moves his feet because they're all according to God is moving people according to his will. God's in total 100% control. And this is This is why if you really, really in your heart understand how much God's in control, you will not worry about anything. You can live life and not worry, no matter if things are falling apart, totally apart, or you're having the best times of your life. And man, like sparks fly up from a fire, man's trouble is that many. We all have trouble. Trouble comes for many reasons. Then I ended it with 1 Chronicles 16:31. Because God's sovereign, because he sits in heaven, he does what he pleases. Man comes up with his plans, but God moves his feet because God's in control. Once a Christian understands that, he said, let the heavens rejoice, let the earth be glad, let them say among the nations, meaning the whole earth, the Lord reigns. This should make you shout out to the heavens. This should make you rejoice because the Lord does reign. Somebody's in control of everything out there. It's not that when something bad comes into your life that Satan's got the best of God and getting to you. It's God using Satan for his will. Satan has a leash. God controls Satan. Satan is nothing to God. Listen, Christian, you got to understand that God does whatever he pleases. He doesn't do it according to our will. He does it according to his will. If God does what he pleases, I try not to figure why God does stuff out. You trust him, right? You don't always ask why. You trust him. Part of trusting God is not asking why. When you tell your child, if you give your child money to go do something, give your child money to go get candy at a store. They don't grumble about it. They say thank you. They'll grab the money and go, right? But if you tell them to do something they don't want to do, what do they immediately say? Why? Why are they saying why? Because it's just rebellion. It's in their heart. When it's something they want to do, they don't ask why. When it's something they hate doing or don't want to do, they ask why, because it's rebellion. And a lot of whys in people are rebellion. Why, God? Why are you doing this? You're accusing God of doing something wrong. First off, you're accusing a holy God that sits in heaven on his throne, who does what he pleases, who is holy. You're accusing him of, look, Lord, why are you doing this? Listen, you don't have the authority, nor are you strong enough, nor do you know enough to ever question God about what he's doing and why he's doing it. You're commanded to trust him, good and bad. I didn't say it would be fun. When bad times are coming, you need to understand, you need to remember that God's in heaven, he's in control, he does what he pleases. No matter what man plans in his heart, God moves his feet. You got to understand, people, animals, universe, stars, moons, heavens, universe, angels, demons, they're all under God's control. And that'll give you peace when things are going. You can rejoice and it'll give you peace when things are going bad, and when things are good, it'll make you rejoice, because you can say, whether you're at home with your family in a warm bed or you are in prison facing death, you can say, the Lord reigns. This is part one of the God sovereignty of God. And by the time we're done with all this, it's going to be about 10 different sermon series here. But by the time you're done, you're going to understand that, listen, you can trust God. He controls all things. Every single person on this earth he controls. Every single demon he controls. The universe, the rain, the animals, all of it is all in his will and being controlled. The Lord reigns. Christian, remember that. For the time's coming, and I'm going to say it once more. Psalm 115:3. The Lord sits in heaven, and he does what he pleases. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Bye.